Hey everybody, Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. So this past weekend, I attended the 2016 Midwest Gaming Classic in Brookfield, Wisconsin. I also went last year, which was my first year going to this convention, my first video game convention in general, saw a lot of really cool stuff, had a blast. So naturally, I went back this year, and it was a grand old time for all. So this video is going to be part vlog about the convention and part pickups video. This year, my friends and I kind of made like a weekend out of it. I went on Sunday, which was the final day of the con, which is discount day for admissions, and that's also the day that a lot of the dealers are looking to make deals just to get the games off their tables so they don't have to drag all this inventory back home with them. The day before, on Saturday, my friends and I got together, played a little tabletop gaming, Star Wars Imperial Assault for your ass. A ritual that my friends and I have is after we usually go out for dinner, we stop by this frozen yogurt chain called Menchie's, which is usually a hangout for tweeny bopper girls giggling over text messages they're getting from boys on their phone. Kind of annoying, but at least the yogurt's good. And funnily enough, they were doing a video game promotion. The first time I've ever seen this chain do anything like this. So they had Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 spoons. Why not? So on Sunday, we woke up early, hauled ass to Wisconsin, got to the con around 10:30, met up with some friends that live in Wisconsin, and we checked the joint out. Me being the video game collector that I am, I decided to go check out the dealer area first because it's basically what's right in front of you when you walk in the front door. It's under this gigantic tent that covers a large portion of the parking lot of the hotel. There was a band playing in the back that was doing covers of video game music, and what I thought was kind of awesome was they would play a bit of the Metroid title song from the original Metroid game for the NES as their segues in between songs, which I thought was really clever. And it was a lot of fun. It was cool to have this music blasting in my ears while I was checking out all the retro games I was interested in picking up. And I did pick up many, many games. Probably more than I should have, but what are you gonna do? I started finding stuff right off the bat that I had been looking for a long time. And the first games I picked up were Deja Vu for the NES, which is in the vein of Shadowgate. It's kind of like an old school PC game. It might have been based off an old school PC game. I'm not sure. I've been looking for this one for a long time because I love Shadowgate so much. I wanted to get this and the other game that's in this sort of pseudo-series. There's one called The Uninvited by Kemco Sieka. And trying to find an in-box version of this has been kind of a pain in the ass lately. They were selling it for $15. Why not? Sky Shark, which is a shmup that I think is based off of an old arcade game by Taito. And it is super fun, really hard, just like all these old NES games are. Reminds me a little bit of Time Pilot, if you remember that game. Really fun. Glad to have this in the collection. And as you know, the Nintendo 64 is not my favorite console. It is actually my least favorite, for reasons I've explained. But there are a few games I am looking for the N64. There aren't many. But one of the ones I've been looking for is actually kind of expensive, and this guy was selling it for like $30, and I said, okay, I guess I'm buying it. Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers. I figured since I'd already bought Deja Vu, which was attributed to my enjoyment of Shadowgate for the NES, why not get the follow-up? This is a first-person dungeon crawler. There's some horror elements, stories kind of reminiscent of other fantasy novels you might have read. The graphics are absolute poop, but it is fun, which is surprising for an N64 game since I don't find most of them enjoyable like at all. Lately I've just had this weird hankering to play some horror games, so one of the goals I had set for going to this convention was to at least find one horror game that I have never played before to add to the collection, and I managed to find one pretty cheap. Siren for the PS2. I've read reviews of it, I've seen footage, it looks really creepy, very Silent Hill-esque, I guess. I haven't played it yet, and some of these pictures on the back are really disturbing. I can't lie. $20. And one of the other things I wanted to do at the convention was to make sure I managed to find a few Super Nintendo games to add to the collection because there are so many games for the SNES that I have been looking for over the years that are well out of my monetary means, and there's also some ones that are not so expensive that people are overcharging for online and no one seems to be trading for them, at least complete in box. So I said, you might want to look for some of these while you're at the con. Hopefully you can find them for a decent price. And I did. Got Judge Dredd for the Super Nintendo because licensed games. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it is fun for what it is. Wing Commander The Secret Missions. I've been looking for this for a long time because, as you probably know, I'm a huge Wing Commander fan. and this is the follow-up to the original game. I do believe when this came out for the PC, it was more of an add-on, but you can't really do that with Super Nintendo games, so they kind of made it a sequel instead. If you loved the original Wing Commander, this is more of the same, and in my case, it's awesome. And then this other game, Nintendo, who I've done a couple of collaborations with on the channel, talks about this game a lot and how he thinks it's a really underrated classic and nobody seems to be talking about it. So I've been saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I should look for this game. It sounds interesting. It sounds fun. Might want to pick it up if you can. Well, this dealer that I was trying to bargain with had a copy of it complete in the box, and he wanted $25 for it, and I asked if I can take a look at the insides. It didn't have an insert, the manual was kind of effed up, and the box isn't in the greatest condition, but it's not horrible. So I talked him down to $20, and he agreed. And that is The Ignition Factor. It is a firefighter game. And after I bought this, my friends saw that I already had 2 bags worth of games I was toting around with me. They were like, so what'd you buy? I showed them everything I bought, and most of the time they were like, okay, whatever. And then when this came out, they were like, a firefighter game, Chris? Really? And I said, hey, Nintendo swears by it. I'll take his word for it. I'm going to try it out. I do own the Fireman. This one is similar. There's a couple of differences. Just as fun. So Nintendo, thanks for the recommendation. After this, I said, okay, get me away from the dealer's area. I'm just going to blow all my money at once. Let's go and check out the rest of the hotel, see what else is around. So we're leaving the dealer's hall, and we're heading into the hotel. And this dude walks in front of me, and I kind of recognized him, but I couldn't place the face at first. So I was kind of staring at him like, I know you? And then he goes, hey, Chris Pico! Oh, Boston Burf! I was like, holy crap, Boston Burf recognized me. That's awesome. So, yeah, I shook his hand. We chatted for about a minute, and then I had to go and catch up with my friends who had started to walk away. Yeah, he seemed like a very nice guy. Dude is tall as hell. I hope to see him next year. Maybe we can hang out a little bit. Headed into the hotel. One of the things I told my friends that I wanted to do while I was there was try out the Nuon, which was a console that was built into DVD players in the early to mid 2000s. There's only like 8 or 9 games made for the damn thing. I'd seen one the prior year, and I wanted to try it out because the one game that everyone says is awesome that you have to play for that console is Tempest 3000, which is the sequel to Tempest 2000, which came out for the Jaguar. And then they kind of remade it for the PS1 as Tempest X, which I love, and I wanted to see what this game was all about. So I told everyone that I was with, hey, if you see the new one and you see Tempest 3000 being played on a TV, let me know. I want to try this thing out. So basically, right as we walk into the hotel, and after I see Boston Burf, there's a new one right in front of me. So I checked out Tempest 3000, and yeah, it was actually pretty fun. I don't know if I'd actually buy a new one to play it, but whatevs, it is what it is. And it was a fun Tempest game. Really trippy, really crazy effects. It almost gave me a headache at one point, but the game started to get some really bad slowdown when I got into like level 7 or 8. So I said, yeah, I'll put this controller down and walk away. Went into an arcade where they had a lot of unreleased arcade games that had just been like unearthed, like ROMs of it had been found, like the Beavis and Butthead arcade game. There was a Judge Dredd arcade game that was horrendously bad that we played for about 5 minutes too long. Last year, there was a birthday party for Mario in one of the rooms, and we avoided it because my one friend wanted to check it out the year before, and I told him to avoid it because it would probably just be filled with little kids screaming and shrieking and jumping and running all over the place, and I didn't want to deal with that mess. But this year they were doing it again, but it was in this arcade area. Basically, a Nintendo rep had taken up a quarter of this arcade, and all he was doing was handing out like leftover flyers and posters and whatnot that they had used for advertisements of their games over the past couple of years. And people were just scrambling to get their hands on whatever they had. One of my friends wanted to get one of these Mario hard hats that they were passing out to advertise Super Mario Maker. I think it was one of the pre-order bonuses from one of the different stores. But people were just like jumping on this table, and it was crazy. I mean, I couldn't even see what they had because just so many people would just be cutting in front of each other left and right, and I almost wanted to like start throwing people out of the way because it was annoying the hell out of me. I'm like, dude, I've been waiting here for 5 minutes and I can't even move close to the damn table, and people are just pushing their way in front of me, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm done. I pushed my way up to the front, started snagging shit, started pulling stuff out of people's hands at a couple points. It was nuts. But I finally managed to get like a nice handful of promos. First, I managed to get these Bravely Default card sets. I will not open them, but I got a couple of them with different characters on them. Got this really cool Xenoblade Chronicles X poster, which is actually a gigantic sticker. It's almost like wallpaper. Got another one for Bravely Default, which is basically the same thing. It's a big-ass sticker. This rad-ass Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes poster, which on the back has a Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon poster on it. Got this awesome Xenoblade Chronicles 3D poster, and on the back it has Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And this one I believe was a pre-order bonus for Super Mario Maker, one of the ones I was not able to get. It's this big Mario Timeline poster, which I think is kind of rad. This will be extremely hard to get a frame for, guaranteed, but I will try, because I would love to have this on the wall in my game room. It was like tooth and nail there for a second trying to just get my hands on those things. There was plenty more to choose from, but people were just like almost ready to tackle each other over them. The Nintendo Rep was basically just like putting like a little stack of things out and then stepping back and going, deuces, I'm out. Watching people almost beat each other up over this stuff, which was insane. Gamers are a passionate bunch. So we leave that arcade, going to another arcade, which is massive. And I played, Castlevania Versus for about 20 minutes. That was pretty fun. I haven't played Castlevania in a long time. It was great to be able to play it with like an arcade stick, which was rad. Wandered down this one hallway where there was a bunch of rooms. One of them I thought was supposed to be the TurboGrafx room where I had gone into last year, and it was just filled with nothing but import games to buy, which were super cheap, but I couldn't find that room. Apparently it was just one guy sitting in a room with a whole bunch of TurboGrafx consoles waiting for people to come in and play with it. I walked in, he was just sitting there like, hi. But I turn around after walking into that room, and there's a group of people standing outside talking, and I recognized one of them. I'm like, holy crap, that's Ben Heck from The Ben Heck Show. I watch that channel all the time on YouTube. The guy is obviously a gamer, but he does a lot of building projects where someone will say, hey, could you build this for me? Or could you build this? I want to see if you could build this. And like the most popular video, at least the ones that I've seen, is where he built like a person-sized Game Boy. It was insane. I loved that thing. But he was outside. He was having a drink with a couple of guys chit-chatting in the hallway. I didn't want to interrupt him, but I was just kind of like, holy crap, that's Ben Heck, guys. And they're like, who? Went into another room where they have like these mini arcade cabinets that you could buy for about $800. They had a whole bunch of ROMs loaded up on them. Kind of like it was like a main cabinet. And I was actually considering buying one of those this year. I know Grimsy had bought one last year, and there was a Tron one that I was really interested in buying if they had it again this year, but I was like, $800, that's basically like $300 more than I was willing to bring with me to the convention. And I was like, no, I'll pass. Maybe in the future. Honestly, I don't even have room for something like that in my apartment, so yeah, that was out of the question. But I was looking at him, I was like, yeah, maybe next year, maybe the year after. There was a table that had a bunch of arcade posters, like movie poster size, that were used for advertisements in arcades. And I was like, well, if I see one in here for a specific title, it's going to be mine. So I start flipping through these gigantic books of them that they have, and lo and behold, they had it. Discs of Tron. Yes. So after that, we wandered around some more, played some more arcade games, and we decided to head back into the dealer's area. I don't think I really saw everything. There was a lot of areas I couldn't get to because there was a huge crowd of people around. And, you know, I wanted to take one last look around before we all decided to leave. So I picked up a whole bunch more stuff, and the first one was AllStar Slammin' D-Ball, which is actually an upgrade. I had like a really cheap GameStop generic cover for this, and it was basically just the game only. But to find an actual copy of it was awesome. Basically, this is a PlayStation version of Super Dodgeball for the NES. It is a lot of fun for like this cheap budget game. But then I was looking at this one vendor's table, and we started talking, and I was talking about how like there were some games that he had for sale that I thought were like incredibly bad, but they were so bad they were fun because I'm a connoisseur of crappy games. And I said, you know what, this one I actually don't own, so I might just buy it. And he was like, do it, I actually love that game. I'm like, well then I'm taking it off your hands, sir. Sorry. Total Recall for the NES. Horribly bad game. It is just designed so poorly, but it's kind of enjoyable because it is so bad. It actually does follow the plot of the movie fairly decently. It feels so thrown together that it's kind of like a WTF, but it's a good kind of WTF, if that makes any kind of a sense. I've actually enjoyed this game ever since I was a kid. Even though everyone I knew back then thought it was a piece of crap, I always had a soft spot for it for some reason. Don't ask me why. And because I chatted him up so much, he actually gave me a deal on some of these games. Dynasty Warriors Advance, which is actually still sealed. I haven't opened it yet, haven't unwrapped it yet, but I watched some footage of it, and it looks really fun. I'll open this up very soon to give it a go. And he also sold me Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, which is another one of these Metroidvania type of Castlevania games that I love. These 3 games together, he sold to me for $40, which is a very, very good deal. And then the next table over was a game that I've been looking for a long time, and I can never find it online for a good price. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. Every time I had found this game on eBay or on Amazon, either the cover was just completely crushed, because this is one of those crappy games that came with a cardboard cover for some reason, or they were just overcharging for it completely. So to get this for $20 was a pretty good steal as far as I'm concerned. And I played the game, and it is extremely easy, but these were made for kids, so that's fine. It is what it is. It's actually kind of fun. I actually had to sell this game back in 2011 when I'd lost my job, and it was only the cartridge, but I liked it so much I wanted to get it back the moment I started collecting again. But these games have jumped up in price, so getting a CIB version was kind of out of the question. Everyone seemed to be overcharging for it. Found it for $30 at the con. Hokuto no Ken 6, which is actually Fist of the North Star in the US. But this is a one-on-one fighting game, kind of like Street Fighter 2, but super freaking hard. I did not remember that this game was so goddamn hard. Man, this game kicked my ass. And one of the other things I was looking for at the con were 3DO games. And I was extremely surprised to find that basically 2 vendors that were there had any 3DO games at all. One of them just had disc-only versions. But this one dude had a couple of them in a case that he was keeping off to the side, and I said, I've been wanting to upgrade that game for the longest time because I just have the disc-only version of it. And every time I find it on eBay, it is just completely overpriced. It makes no sense. No one gives a rat's ass about this game normally. Why are you charging $60 for it with a box? I don't get it. But this guy was selling it for $20, and I said, okay, now is the time. Starfighter. It's a 3D flight game. It has this open world vibe to it that is extremely fun and strangely relaxing. Sure, there's missions that you have to go on in order to complete the game, but it's not like you have a time limit or you're forced to do it. It is just like you can fly anywhere you want, do whatever you want, see whatever you want, destroy whatever you want. A lot of fun. I remember a friend of mine back in the 90s when this game first came out, he would sit there and play this game for hours on end and just go flying around and just do whatever. It's awesome. It's a very underrated game. I think this also came out for the PS1, but I originally had this for the 3DO, so obviously I wanted this version instead. So now I have a complete version of it, and I am super happy that I do. And another console I've been considering to collect for was the Sega Master System, but I didn't really want to have to go out and buy another console to do it. I was considering maybe buying that power base converter for the Genesis, but those are kind of expensive. But now that I own the Retro Freak, which has an attachment coming out for it that lets me play like Game Gear games and Sega Master System games and Mark III games, I can actually start picking up some of these games and start getting Game Gear games also. Like, I really want to get a copy of Vampire for the Game Gear. I loved that game back in the day. And there were Sega Master System games at almost every single table at the convention. As I was walking past, I'm like, that game I remember being pretty fun, because I had a Sega Master System back in the early 2000s, which I ended up having to sell. And I was like, I remember that game being pretty fun. That game is pretty fun too. Well, you know what? Just start buying them so when you do buy that adapter, you'll have something to play. So I started buying some Master System games. Choplifter, which is a game I was playing on my Atari computer when I was a little kid. And I love this game. And I hear this is the best version of this game for a home console. So I picked it up. I think it was like $5. Black Belt, which was one of the launch games, I do believe, for the Sega Master System. And I wanted this game so bad because, number one, in Japan, this is a Hokuto no Ken game, Fist of the North Star game, that they had to change in order to make it less violent over in the US because we just can't handle gore, like, at all. Ding. But my uncle, back in the day, had bought a Sega Master System for me and my brother and the rest of the extended family to play whenever they would come over to his house to visit. So when the adults would be upstairs talking and drinking and whatever, we'd have something to do in the basement. I played the shit out of this game at his house, and I loved it. And it is a lot of fun. It is kind of like Kung Fu, I guess, for the NES. It starts off as a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, and then it turns into like a one-on-one fighting game whenever you get to a boss. A lot of fun. And then because I'm a whore for license games, Rambo First Blood Part 2. This is kind of like an Ikari Warriors clone, or Commando. It looks like those games, but it's Rambo. And I would have bought Rambo 3, they had that also, but It's a gun game, and I probably won't be able to play any gun games because I don't have a CRT, so what was the point? Although I might just get it anyway just to have it. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? I'm buying games I can't play. What the fuck? But the last game I wanted to buy, I saw it when I first walked in. I have the Genesis version of this game, but I'm not really a fan of it because I had the Super Nintendo version of it back when I was a kid, and I wanted to get that version instead. So I walked in when we first got to the con, and I saw it, and the guy was charging $50 for it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm willing to pay that, but we'll see how I'm doing monetarily at the end of the con. When we're getting ready to leave, I said, yeah, I think I can pick it up for $50. I'll try to haggle the guy, but I don't know if he'll budge because they seem pretty fixed on the price. But I walked up to him, I asked him if it was the specific cartridge version that I was looking for, and it turned out that it was. And that is Maximum Carnage. And I do have the Genesis version. I will be getting rid of it now that I own this, because I don't need to have 2 copies of the same game if they're the exact same game, which they are. But I always like the music in this one better. I always like the controls and the graphics. Everything just seemed much more colorful, I guess, and clearer when it came to the music. It's an awesome beat 'em up in the Spider-Man universe. One player can play as Spider-Man, one can play as Venom, and you go around beating the crap out of everything. Lots of cool cameos from other Marvel characters in here, like Captain America and Mobius and Iron Fist. It's crazy. This was like the first game that really made me take notice of the Spider-Man character. I'll be happy with this for a little while until I get the craving to play some more and pick up Separation Anxiety at some other time. And on the way out, I also ran into my friend Matt Robbins, who owns Thunder Cards and Games. He had a table. I'd walked past him earlier in the day when we first got there, but there were so many people crowded around his table. I didn't want to interrupt him because he looked like he was in the middle of a deal. So I just kept on walking, and I figured I'd circle back around and see him. And by the time I had gotten to his table, he'd already packed up again, which is kind of like what happened to me the last year. And but he did have some stuff out which I looked through, but there wasn't really anything that caught my eye, other than I think Double Dragon for the Master System. But I was kind of like, I got 3 games right now, I'm good with those. But it was cool to see him and chat with him for a couple of minutes. And with that, we left the convention. I was hoping to run into maybe Grimsy or some other YouTubers, but that didn't happen. It seemed to be winding down when we got the urge to leave, which was probably around like 3 o'clock. And that was the Midwest Gaming Classic 2016. I'm not sure how much fun my friends had because basically their experience just boiled down to watching me check out all these tables for retro video games. We'll see if they want to come back with me next year. If not, it's cool. I understand. If you're a gamer, it is the tits. It is amazing, and I have so much fun when I go. There's so much to look at and see and buy, but I love it. I can't get enough of it. I can't wait to go back next year. And if you plan on going next year, let me know. Maybe we can meet up while we're there and hang out. Who knows? Anything is possible. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, nice to see you again. You are awesome. Help me out and share the video on all the social medias. Spread the word about the old-ass retro gamer. Get the word out. And if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up. It lets me know that you are enjoying what you are seeing. And if you feel the need, leave a comment below. Were you at the Midwest Gaming Classic? What were your pickups? Were you an exhibitor? Did you see any cool stuff? Play any great arcade games? Play some old-ass system that you've never heard of before? Let me know in the comments below because I am genuinely interested. So until next time, I am Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off. Cock and Bull Cherry Ginger Beer. Only the best for the old-ass retro gamer.